back. Let's hear it, Raider Nation, for John Spytek, who joins us.
There you go. Hey, congratulations, by the way.
Oh, thanks, man. Appreciate it.
That's awesome.
There's a lot of that going on, John. We're really proud for him, not only as a broadcaster, but this. And describe him as a player from back in the day.
He was probably my age.
Yeah, I remember him more with the Eagles more than anything.
Yeah.
I probably shouldn't say that here, but yeah, one of my favorite players to watch growing up, and just admired the courage he played with and the energy, and then, I mean, what a fantastic athlete too.
Yeah,
so
we had that great front, you know,
yeah.
Reggie White,
Jerome Brown,
Steph Joyner, Jerome, all those guys. It made my job a lot easier.
You made a hard thing look easy. I always have a lot of respect for that.
How's it been for you so far? Coming off the draft, we just watched the feature of you developing this roster, getting through the combine, and now OTAs. What's the journey been like for you personally?
It's been amazing, really. Everything that I hoped and wanted it to be, and to come to an organization like the Raiders and be a part of Raiders Nation has been a dream come true for me. But to get to know all the people in the building, to work with Pete every day, post draft, to have a chance to add some people from around the league and the scouting worlds that I really respect, with Brian Stark and Anthony Patch and Jonathan Stiegel and Brandon Hunt, a lot of guys that have a lot of Super Bowl rings joined us too. So. It's been awesome. The energy on the field's been great. It's great to see the rookies out in the field now and fitting into the team. Great to see Geno throwing the ball around. It's been special, and I'm looking forward to a great week to kick us off into summer here.
Let's go back to the draft. Like that is like the Super Bowl for, player personnel people, general managers. When you're going through the draft, everyone has a formula, right? So you're trying to either size, or you see someone pops off on film. Can you talk to us a little bit about what are some of those things that you came into the building with, as far as, hey, this is the kind of player that I think needs to be on the Raiders?
Yeah, we're looking for people like yourself that make the hard thing look easy. A love and a commitment to the game, and I think it stands out when you watch tape. I've gotten actually really good in my career when I watch college tape in the fall, for instance. I often don't read the background on the players before I read it, and you can actually guess it when you watch them play.
Right.
There's a spirit and a passion and energy that the great ones play with. When you watch Ashton, when you watch Jack, those guys play like they love the game of football. We're looking for smart, instinctive football players too. The game, I would say, like, naturally makes sense to them too. There's probably times you came off the field where they're like, "What happened?" I just felt it.
Yeah.
I just knew that this was coming. Well, why? Well, maybe I don't have a good answer for that, but it doesn't matter. You made the play.
Right.
And when that matches up then with the character that we've talked, Pete and I have talked a lot about, the competitiveness that is essential if you want to be a part of this program. You're going to have to love to want to come out here and practice and work and be in the weight room every day. And we just tried to, in the first draft here, we had 11 picks. We tried to fill this roster up with as many of those guys as possible.
Yeah.
John, I had the opportunity to interview you literally within minutes of you making the call for Ashton Jeanty. And we were upstairs up here when I interviewed you. And when you came out of the draft room, I could literally sense the adrenaline still pumping through you, coursing through your body, the excitement that was there. How do you maintain that throughout this period of time when there's no games to win, there's no competitions to be won or lost, but there's still the carrot at the end of that stick?
Well, you learn one thing: we're always competing here. It's the NFL it's an unrelenting schedule. There's very little time to if any, to relax. And our job every day is to make the Raiders as good as possible. There's still a waiver wire every day that we go through, and we determine, is there anybody on that wire that can make the Raiders better. It never ends. I was down in Marco Island 2 weeks ago. We were getting the initial draft list for the 2026 draft, so we're on to the next thing already. And I've been in this 22 years. The best people I've been around, the players, the coaches, the scouts, the GMs, there's an unrelenting quest to every day make the team better. And that's my job here now, is to every day, what do we do to make the Raiders better? And it's a job we take really, it's a job and a thought process we take really serious.
We just had Coach Carroll on. I would think for you as a first-time GM, it's got to be kind of perfect to have that competition and energy guy with a track record like that as you come together to build this program.
Yeah, there's a peace of mind to it that if we can just give him and the coaching staff the kind of players that will succeed in this environment, the rest is going to be taken care of. He has a formula, he has a process, he has a program. It's been successful for years across college and the pros. There's a confidence that comes with that. I can lean on him for a lot of things that, as a first-time general manager, hey, what have you seen in the past? What's the right way through this? At the same time, he's been a great partner in that he listens to me and understands that, like, I have a background and I have things that are important to me. And I've also been a part of really successful organizations as well. And, the back and forth that we have and the way we support each other has been great so far. But to have a guy like Coach Carroll, that's probably the number one question I get when I go home. I was just home in Wisconsin over the weekend. What's Coach Carroll like? I'm like, he's great. He brought my high school coach out here and introduced him in front of the team and
Awesome.
invited him in and, hey, what can we learn and what can I teach you? And just a love affair with the game of football is how I describe Pete. And
He really
always wants to
does.
be around people that share the same mindset.
Yeah, he really does love the game. And so as a GM, the most important thing is to have a head coach you believe in and the team can believe in. Check, you got that. Then the quarterback situation. You have a quarterback who's won, who everyone feels comfortable with, who's a veteran, who can get it done. Then on the other side of the ball, you have a defensive guy who's one of the faces of the franchise, one of the best players in the National Football League. With those three key components all kind of intact, as a GM, what's that next step for you as far as foundational team?
Well, it's great to have Pete. It's
Yep.
our number one goal we talked about in our press conference, or not number one, but one of our main goals was to find a quarterback, to find a guy that can make it all come to life on offense. I think we did that with Geno.
Yeah.
He's been great. He's been everything that we wanted him to be out here so far. We got a long way to go, but we're off to a good start. And then having Max, the ultimate Raider, plays the game the way we want to play it. Those things, when you come in, you're like, okay, those are things that we've got in place right now. I just look at it from the standpoint of team building. Every day we got to figure out how can we add to that? How can we make Geno's life as a quarterback as easy as possible, knowing that it is the hardest job in sports, in my opinion. So how can we surround Geno with a great offensive line so he can feel comfortable and confident that I'll be protected? We can have a run game that can come to life with Ashton now, where it's not all on the quarterback to make every throw and every play. Like, he can have some mental breaks, right? Like turn around and run power and hand it off. There it goes for 15. Okay, I can take a break in that moment. And then how can we support Max in a similar fashion? How can we surround Max with a lot of great players so that people can't focus on him? Everybody knows Max is a great player, but we've got to have other guys around him that can help Max get one-on-one matchups and come to life. And I think we did that. We got a lot of guys we added in free agency, guys we added in the draft that hopefully they'll become big-time Raider players here in a year or two.
How important was that then, John, to bring in that veteran presence, especially at linebacker with Landon and with Devin White, to bring in guys that are veterans but not necessarily have the experience of being in this building to bring what they bring as well?
Well, I mean, huge, because I was a linebacker, so I'm partial to that position. And I take myself. It's serious there,
Yeah.
If we don't have two linebackers, I feel like we're not doing a good job. But to have a guy, both guys won Super Bowls where they were before, different skill sets, but there's a veteran presence to both of them that is calming in a way. They've kind of been there before. They've seen a lot of it. And, that's good for the room. That's good for the defense. It's good for the young players like Tommy and Cody at that position as well. And, again, like they're accredited good football players in the NFL. And hopefully they can come in and play like they've played in the past and maybe even better.
Let's dive into your offensive line as you try to improve it. You brought in new players. When you look at the draft, the young guys coming in, and this competition that we hear a lot with Coach Carroll, where everyone's competing every practice snap to try to start or to try to be that first guy in off the bench. What's that development been like in that room?
Well, I think it's been great with that and Alex Kappa, who obviously I was familiar with from our time in Tampa before he left us and went to the Bengals for a couple years. And then the two draft picks, obviously, at the end of the third round. Again, competition, load it up, make people earn jobs. Nothing should be given to anybody here.
Right.
Maybe there's a few guys that we all know are going to start, but the more rooms that we can have where it is a legit competition every day, the cream will rise to the top there. And I saw it firsthand in 2023 in Tampa when we brought in Baker Mayfield. Nothing was promised to Baker other than a chance to compete, and in a room that Tom Brady had just left with Kyle Trask, who we had a second-round pick in. And it was a great competition for the better part of 3 or 4 weeks of training camp till Baker finally established himself, and off he went. But that was better for the team. That was better for the room. And, the O-line is the ultimate position group to me.
Yeah.
You got 5 guys working together. There's a synergy between those guys when it's going well that goes far beyond the football field. And so to add Charles and Caleb to that room where you need guys, you need bodies.
Yeah.
You can take 8 to game day. They got to be able to do a lot of stuff. That's a tough spot to play. There's always injuries at that position. You need to have depth at that position. So push the guys that are here. Maybe they win a job, but if not, they're the kind of guys that'll be ready to step up and play if needed this year.
Yeah, I'm really interested in the safety room. Isaiah played a lot last year, and then Jeremy just so versatile. He can play on all three levels. Talk to us a little bit about that safety room.
They got to be the tallest safety group I've ever been a part of. I mean, Jeremy's the shorter one at 6'3".
Yeah.
But, Jeremy was somebody that we really liked in the free agency process. The way that Pete envisions defense being played, the big nickel role that we will have here, the versatility of Jeremy because of his athleticism and intelligence is really something that's interesting. And Isaiah, really a player that's kind of been on the come here for, last year really in particular, and somebody that I was really happy that we were able to get, a 2-year deal with going into his restricted free agency year. So those two guys have been great. Adding Lonnie Johnson to that room, he's another tall safety, which is fun. And then, Thomas Harper and Chris Smith are two guys that are doing a good job so far in camp too, and that really give us a lot of depth in that room. And then allow, if Jeremy, for instance, is going to be the big nickel, well, he can't be the big nickel if there's nobody to play either the true safety spots. And so to have that depth and allow the freedom and the versatility within our scheme has been really a great thing to see come alive.
On the personal level, you spent a lot of time paying your dues. And we joked about it before. Decades. Okay, 2 decades.
Don't do that to me.
I've been covering this team for 2 decades too. So, but from your perspective, how much more rewarding is it to be sitting in that seat now for the first time and to be able to be that yin to Pete Carroll's yang in terms of completing that picture as a first-year GM after paying all those dues and learning the craft?
Yeah, I was not what I would describe in my 20s and 30s a patient person. I wanted everything. You want it now. And some of the wisdom that lives in my beard and on top of my head now here. I think I have an appreciation. Like I am where I'm supposed to be right now, and everything that I was able to be a part of and accomplish up to this point in my life has brought me here, and I feel more ready than ever. Could I have done this 3 or 4 years ago when I first had some interviews? Yes, I think so. But I am where I'm supposed to be, and I have a foundation. I have a confidence. And I appreciate everything that got me here, all the people along the way that worked with me, all the things I had to do, all the time I spent, in Hampton Inns and Fairfield Inns across the country.
Shout out.
The time,
Points.
The time away from my family, which was hard. But in a sense, I feel like I can look at a lot of people and be like, in the scouting department in particular, like, I've been there before. I've done that. I know you're 35 and you're hungry and you're ambitious, but just stick with us here. Like the reward will come, and when it does come, you'll be much more prepared, and you'll have a chance to work with somebody like Pete Carroll with the Raiders organization.
John, last one, when you're around town and you're meeting these fans, it could be at a golf course, it could be grocery shopping, whatever it is with your family. What do you think? It's a different fan base. It's a global fan base. You've embraced it. What are your expectations for this fan base coming into the home season at Allegiant?
Well, my first expectation is that we put a team on the field that they can be proud of and that they want to come support every Sunday, and we fill Allegiant up with as many Raiders fans as possible. And we've got to earn that right, I think, to have that expectation. In terms of being a part of this fan base, it's the only thing I can compare it to. Well, I mean, I've been a part of some great franchises. I don't want to do comparisons, but it's been special. I had a lot of friends that. They're Packer fans in particular because of where I grew up, and they've already kind of made the transition, which is really, you have to be probably from Wisconsin to totally appreciate that. But I've had friends tell me they're in Costa Rica and they're in Europe and they're wearing their Raiders gear, and people will come up, locals will come up and yell Raiders at them, and nobody's ever done that with any part. I've been, no one did that in Philadelphia or Tampa Bay or Denver, some great organizations, and so it hits a little bit different, and I think I learned that every day. It's really special. I feel really honored and humbled to wear the shield and to wear the silver and black.
Thanks for doing this, John. Appreciate it. Have a great day.
Thanks, man.
I appreciate you guys.
How about that for Media Day? John Spytek.